ahead and begin recording, and we are good to start.
Great. Do we need to establish quorum?
Yep, I will go ahead and call roll.
Great. Let's do that.
I'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Chan. Commissioner Crane.
Here.
Commissioner G.
Here.
Commissioner Liu.
Here.
Vice Chair Wheeler.
Here.
And Chair Bedard.
Here.
And
And with that, I open the meeting Thursday, May 13th, 2021. A very auspicious date, auspicious meeting. I think the first meeting we're having of the commission where we've had the library open and things opening up, going, which is a great thing. And I see Catherine also, we have our first Friends sale coming up, which is fantastic. All good stuff. With that, are there any public comments for items which aren't on the agenda? Any members of the public?
I do not currently see any hands raised, and I did not receive any. Oh, I do. We have Diane who would like to speak during public comment.
Welcome, Diane.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and promote her really fast. Oh, whoops, wrong person. Sorry about that. Oh, wait, let me go back to Diane. There we go. Diane?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't really mean to speak, though. Hi to everyone. I was just playing around with the controls. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
No worries.
Is there any other member of the public who'd wish to speak? I saw.
And for those, if you would like to speak, you can go ahead and raise your hand. If not, I do not see anyone else that is raising their hand.
Great. So let's go into the informational items. Item number 1, county staff. Rose and Stephen, welcome.
Hello, everyone. I was having some technical difficulties myself, so I've got 2 cameras and I can't get over to the one I want, so I'm on this one now, and that's okay. So let me just pull up my presentation here. Let's share that one. Sorry, bear with me.
Not a problem.
Okay. Can you guys see that?
No.
No, it's still not right. All right. How about that?
Yes.
All right. And if I go to, I don't know if I'm getting into presentation mode here, but I'll do the best I can with these slides there. Okay. Did it switch over to Distinguished Author Series?
Yes.
Okay. So we had Joyce Carol Oates here on Saturday, just this past Saturday. That was the 3rd in our series of Distinguished Author Series. I hope you were able to join that. It was a very interesting program. And then the final Distinguished Author Series is Saturday, May 22nd, and that's Jhumpa Lahiri will join us. And Meg Clayton White will be doing the interview. So it's an author on author crime there. So we'll see how that goes. It should be really interesting. Next up, we had Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So we had quite a few events for that. There's a Hulu program that you can go and watch when you get a chance. It will be available up until the end of the month. Of course, we have our bilingual story times in Mandarin and English. We have yoga. We have the Distinguished Author Series, as I already mentioned. And then we have recommended reading lists as well that patrons can go to our website and learn more about Asian American Pacific Islander culture. We were introducing a new mobile app. So we've had our app for a long time now, and we were updating it. And there is some issue with the iOS version. And that's coming from Apple's end. They kind of delayed some settings that they were going to change on their end. But hopefully we'll have that up soon. We were expecting May 10th, but it might extend into next month at this point. But when you get a chance, download the new app if you don't have an Apple. Otherwise, hold tight. We also have summer reading, and we're well underway for pre-registration already on that. So that's pretty exciting. We're reaching out to schools right now and trying to get them involved. And I'm sure Rose and her team is doing an excellent job reaching out to the Los Altos school districts and making sure that they participate. This year's theme is Reading Colors Your World. We'll have lots of virtual programs that kids will be able to sign up for. Actually, people of all ages will be able to sign up for and hopefully enjoy some of those events. And then, of course, we have our sign up and tracking app called Beanstack, where we will eventually have everybody who signs up be entered into a drawing for a prize. So if you know, especially kids, if you know kids, get them to sign up. Information about Campbell. So Campbell Library is undergoing a renovation. Their last day of service at their main library was on May 8th. And then they'll be opening up in the Campbell Community Center on May 24th. So they'll be down for a couple weeks. It's a smaller space, but they will be able to open up for extended hours. We'll have more information on that pretty shortly. And if you wanted to check out what that space looks like, please go to our website and we'll keep you updated there. Save the date. We have a Joint Powers Authority Board meeting on Thursday, January 3rd. That will be online if you're interested in attending that. And finally, we had been getting lots of great feedback from patrons about our reopening. As Pierre mentioned, everybody should be very excited about that. So at the Milpitas Library, there's a local newspaper called the Milpitas Beat. But there was a great quote from one of our patrons, and I'm just going to read it real quick. On Monday, April 19th, the kids and I lugged 70 books back to the library to receive the greatest surprise of our lives. It was fully open. The excitement in that building was palpable as my kids went crazy, exploring each aisle, eager learners with endless options once more. So we're getting a lot of good feedback. Like I said, everybody's really excited. Staff is excited. Patrons are excited. And I'm sure you all saw some of the recent news with the CDC on their guidelines. And then that, of course, will ultimately affect how we provide service in the library as well. But we're waiting to see what the county and state guidelines are before we make any changes. And that's all I had for now. And I will throw it over to Rose. Stop sharing.
Thank you, Steve.
Good evening, everyone. So let me share my screen. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so first thing I wanted to touch on is we are very excited to be back, and so are patrons. If I've seen some of you at the library, and it was nice to see you, and the patrons have just been really grateful to be back, and so we're so happy that, you know, they love the library so much, and our staff are really excited to have them back. And with that, our statistics have grown or increased quite a bit. You'll see, but just between last month, in March and April, they have increased in all of the sections with patrons served, checked out, and returned items. And on the bottom, just from January to April, the amount of items increased, items checked out increased for 44.8%. So we're continuing to see growth with patrons returning to the library and checking out more items now that they're able to browse. So it's been all very positive. Some of the events, I know Steve touched on the virtual yoga, but there was also a Master Gardener's event, Growing Great Basil. Those are just two. And to elaborate a little bit more, before that, so Distinguished Author, the Lolly sponsored event with Sapolsky was just pretty amazing stats. You'll see with the waiting list, 580 registered. And from what I've heard, I think almost all of them have reached the maximum 500 registration. And with Sapolsky's recording that was only available for a week, it got 1,432 views. So that has just been a very very successful program, and we really thank Lolly for supporting that program. Let's see, is it going? Okay, so I know Steve talked about summer reading. At Los Altos, we are also doing some local kind of fun things. Every year we've done a search and find in the children's area for children, and kids just love that. Every week they're gonna hide a box of the crayons, that's the theme, and the kids can find it in the children's area and get a prize. So it keeps kids excited to return to the library every week to get a new prize. And they're also going to be doing some more local, like take-home art kits for families too. You'll see also, there are also going to be takeaway kits for the system-wide that we're doing that school-age children can pick up. And there is an art club gallery on our website. This is just a screenshot of it. And it's from last year also, and goes into this year, and children can basically send in their artwork and their creations, and they get to see it on our website. It's just a fun thing. They could share it with their family and relatives just to show off what they've done. And for the adults, there is a similar art program. I don't think it's going to be put on our website, but it's kind of a go at your own pace. It's called Introduction to Zentangle. It starts on June 1st. And there's a certified teacher. The class will be recorded and available to watch on our YouTube channel so that you can do it at your own pace and as many times as you want. And something that just is very recent news that we just learned is that due to the county lifting the hiring freeze, we are looking at possibly opening Woodland with limited hours and limited days. So we're very happy to do that, to be able to open it again. We don't have too many details just right now. We're working on figuring that out with the staffing levels that we have, because we want to make sure it's safe for the staff and patrons. But as soon as we have more information, we will definitely share it. But I just wanted to share that news with you guys, that there is some stuff going on the back end. So we'll be happy to share more as we learn more. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very
That's
much,
great
Rose.
news.
What I'd like to do now is open up if there's any public questions on the information, and then we'll go around the room with the commissioners. So any members of the public who would like to ask a question, please raise your hand.
No
If
hands.
not, no. So if not, I'm just going to go through my list, and I'm going to start with Commissioner Liu Ying.
Thank you. I actually do not have any comments. I think everything so far, I think has been going very well. I'm sure Nevin may update the team about the commissioners about our subcommittee work. We did meet a couple of times, and I think there are definitely a lot of good information was collected. And thanks to Rose for the participation and the support. Yeah, so I think that's it for now.
Thank you, Commissioner Liu. Commissioner G. Melvin?
Hi, can you hear me well?
Yeah.
All right, so as Ying was saying, we've had some good sessions in the future subcommittee. The most recent one we had, Julie invited a librarian out of the Minnesota, Minneapolis suburb area, where we actually were able to talk to them about how they were going about implementing self-service capabilities. So next week, when we have our discussion regarding Woodland, we'll be able to present our results and be able to talk through what some of the issues are, what the costs are, that type of thing.
So Nelvin, we're definitely, we want to hear more about that during the work plan discussion. But in terms of questions for Rose, are you, or Steve, that's where we are right now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I cycle back to me, okay?
Pass is good. Okay. Freddie, Commissioner Wheeler.
Oh, hi. Well, I'm on the Infrastructure Committee, Subcommittee and Awareness Subcommittee. We're continuing to work on the Infrastructure Subcommittee. Nelvin was great to help me, to provide me with a format so that the plans, the expansion plans could look more professional. And so trying to get this presentation ready for the NCLA, which has been postponed to the next meeting now.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Virginia would be better to report on Awareness Subcommittee, okay?
Well, yeah, I apologize. All I was really trying to get, I'm pinging you really to, if there's any questions for the county staff based on the presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're gonna, yeah, we're not in that part of the agenda quite yet.
Okay, so I do have just one question to Rose about the Woodland situation. So Brian is still at Woodland, Brian?
So Bryant is at Los Altos, actually. So Woodland and Los Altos, we share the same staff. We have the same staff budget. So right now, because Woodland is closed, we do have Bryant at Woodland helping out.
But will he go back to Woodland when it opens?
We haven't figured out that situation yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. So, so it's still pretty much to be determined when. Okay.
Yeah, we just learned the news, so we're working on the details just as we speak. So we've been working.
It was interesting. They had a community engagement meeting. The city did for Zone 1, which is South Los Altos, and it's where I live. It's very close to Woodland. And Woodland Library was the subject of a lot of comments. They want that library open as soon as possible. So just to let you know, there is a lot of interest in having Woodland open.
Yeah, we're excited to be able to open it up again. So yeah, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Great. And next, Commissioner Chan, Regina, do you have any questions for staff?
I don't have any questions for the staff. I'm just really happy that it's open finally. And maybe one day we don't have to wear a mask anymore. So that's all I have.
Thank you. And Julie, Commissioner Crane, any questions for?
No questions.
Nothing. And Carol is not here, so I'll ask my question. First off, thank you very much to the county. I'm thrilled that we're open. I couldn't stay out of the library for the first week. It was just fun walking through the halls. I have one question on that had to do more with the Great Authors Program, and I was trying to do the math. How much per participant in view did it cost?
You know, I don't, Steve maybe knows the total. I don't know the amounts.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I could probably figure it out while you're talking.
It'd be, and I only bring that up not to pick on it, but it would be a good showing of community involvement and, you know, investment in these types of activities, which were
Sure.
Clearly very successful.
Yeah, I'll be take my camera off here and start doing some math.
Not an issue. I mean, it was really a snap math test to see, you know.
But don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
Thank you very much. And okay, so with that, we'll move to informational item number 2, which is information from the Friends of the Library.
Well, hello, everybody. We are very excited to say, as Pierre mentioned earlier, that we are going to have a sale. Let me get this going here. And it disappeared. There it is. Okay. So, how do
You're on two screens, I think.
I am? Oh, boy.
It's okay. I think we can
Can
see
you
it.
see? Wait a minute. Hold on. I can't even find my cursor. Let me get out of there. Okay. This is very embarrassing. Okay. I'm not sure what you're seeing right now.
We see the slide. It's just in the it's like in the slideshow driving mode. So
Okay.
you're probably presenting on another screen, but that's okay. I think everyone can see it very
Okay,
well.
well, anyway, we're having a sale this Sunday and the following Sunday. Be there. We're so excited. We're going to, this time we're putting out everything we have, part of it on one Sunday and part of it on the other. So come one, come all. And while you're at the History Museum, go in and take a look at their new exhibit on wildflowers, and which is great because it's important to me. And I do have to give a shout out to the museum because all during COVID, they're the one way we've been able to do sales because the city has not allowed us to use the parking lots in any way, shape, or form. So anyway, also donations, we're now regularly open twice a week, and we have been getting tons and tons of donations, which is great. Everybody is like, the dam is broke and they finally are able to get rid of all their books, and so we're very pleased about that. So if you need to get rid of your books, come on down. Also, we're operating fully. We're getting all volunteers to come back. And my big question to Jamie will be when we'll be able to use Hillview for a sale. Maybe she can address that later. And our infrastructure is in flux, our building. We really want to replace our current building with the larger building. And the objective is so that one, we have more space to process things, but also we want to get out of the library and return that space that Rose gave us to the patrons, because we're patrons too, and we want to use that space. And one of our board members was a regular at that space because he came in every morning to read all the periodicals. So anyway, so if we can get our new building in place this summer, that's our goal. We'd be delighted. However, we also want some energy so we can have some heating in the winter and AC in the summer. The PG and Hook, I've mentioned this before, is very expensive. So now we're investigating solar, and there's some issues with that, but we're hoping we can do the right thing here. And unfortunately, we don't have an agreement with the city. It's been 16 months since the council directed the staff to come up with an agreement with us, but we're kind of stuck on what they think about our new portable. And until they, the planning commission and I don't know who, and the staff decide whether or not they like it, I think that is what is going to make or break the agreement. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and hope that we can move forward. So that's it. Does have any questions? I will stop the share if I can figure out how to get out of here.
So are there any questions from the public for Catherine? Please raise your hand if there are.
Let's see. There we go. Stop. There we go. Okay.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, I'm assuming there's no questions. I'm going to start first and go in reverse order. First, I'm like thrilled, very thrilled that the Friends are selling again and collecting books. And the number one question, and I've said it before, you should take money for it. On donations, you're missing out on a revenue opportunity, but that's a comment, which you've heard from me before. Mm-hmm. Is there anything we can do as a commission to help you on the lease or license.
Right. So I think that basically we need to hear back from the city about what they like or don't like about our plan. That's the whole thing. And they're doing a review. So until we hear their comments, it'll probably be premature to, you know, try and advocate for a particular outcome. Mhm.
But if you, anyway, that's a standing offer from, at least from me personally, I'm sure from other commissioners.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, our goal is to swap out our portable before the end of August because our lease runs up on the current plan. But you know, like in all things, things take time with the city, and you know, it's just the way it is.
I know you've been
I don't like, if there's a way to like supercharge something, but I'm not sure that that's possible right now.
Well, you know, as a commission, we have unlimited power to do anything.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case.
So, Julie, Commissioner Crane, any questions?
No
Yeah.
questions, but I echo what others have said about the desire to support your organization.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Chan, Virginia.
So I'm just curious, for Catherine, how long has it been, I am not sure if it's stuck, but under review with the city?
I think it's been at least 2 months, maybe a little bit more. I've met with Brad a couple of times with some of the staff, and versus making him aware of what the issue is. And then the second one was, you know, being more specific about what our needs are. And so it's been a couple months, 2-3 months, and it has to go. Originally, we thought it would be a slam dunk because we're just replacing one building with another. But now they're thinking that, you know, because we're going to be there for a while, because no new library is going to happen within foreseeable future, they're beginning to think of this as a permanent location. So now they're thinking, okay, planning commission, zoning, blah, 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 blah. So, and they're reviewing all of that. And I have to admit, it's a little frustrating. We thought it'd be a simpler solution, but we'll wait to see what they come back with, and then we'll take appropriate action.
Do you think it's something that maybe the council member could help, or, you know, of city?
Possibly. I think right now we just need to hear what they have to say. It could be that they reviewed it and there's no problem and we're fine. But if they come back and say that it is a bigger deal than we had planned and we have to jump through more hoops in order to satisfy, you know, planning commission codes and whatever, then, you know, at that point we may need some encouragement or support.
Okay.
But I don't want to jump on the city unnecessarily. I mean,
right.
The staff has been very helpful to date. It's just that I know they have to satisfy certain parameters. And, you know, it's what it is.
And hopefully it moves quicker now that, you know, we're beginning to reopen. So
yes, I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Wheeler.
I don't have any questions, Catherine, but I do wish you good Godspeed on this. So,
thank you.
And Commissioner G.
Melvin, you're muted.
Melvin.
You're still.
No,
Okay.
I think something might be wrong with your audio, Melvin. And this has happened before. What has worked previously is you might have to sign off and then sign back in again.
So let's, Nelvin, while we figure that out, let's go to Commissioner Liu.
Thank you. I do not have anything, I think, in particular for the Friends of Library. I do think the location is fairly critical. I want to understand if there's anything that we can do to help, at least or for me as a commissioner to help. Please feel free to reach out. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I know, not to put Councilmember Meadows on the spot, but I know she has joined us. And if you have any
insights?
Yes, not in, well, I wasn't, comments.
Well, okay. So, and I've only seen one memo on this from our interim city manager. And so I was a little, and I have not reread it since I read it probably about a week or two ago. So I'm working off the top of my head, my memory. I think what's taking some time is that this is felt to be a much larger structure and with more costs associated with it, and it doesn't look temporary anymore, and whatever it looks like. I haven't actually seen any plans, and so and we know how temporary structures, when you look at the schools, all those temporary buildings that they had, been there like 30 years or something. So, so that's probably causing the hesitation. I don't recall the details on the size, but it's like substantially larger. And so, so I suspect they're reevaluating the request because it's no longer, wasn't it two smaller sort of sheds, and now it's one larger thing combined, and so so I think they were kind of surprised by the request, and I could be wrong, but apparently whatever was signed off when the council first approved the original setup, and as I said, I haven't read this today or recently. Apparently there was some signatures that were never finalized on that agreement. And so it may have basically opened up the whole proverbial can of worms. But as I said, I'm sorry, I didn't review that memo today. I probably should have, but I think really it's just a much larger structure, which with much more infrastructure associated with it. You talked about PG&E and all that, and so it really doesn't look like a temporary shed anymore. So I think that's the reevaluation process that sounds like they're going through, and that's really all I have. I'm sorry, I don't have any specific or current information.
That's good. Well, it's good to understand the city perspective. Just to be clarify, we're adding a 30%. So instead of a 16 by 40, we want a 24 by 40 building. And it all fits on the existing pad that the city, that Manny created for us. So there's no, from a site prep point of view, there's not a lot more to do. It's just basically swapping out. The issue of utilities is a big one, no doubt. And we really would like to have some heat in the winter and AC in the summer, which is not possible right now.
Right, completely understand. But so anyway, that's what I recall that I saw in that memo, and that's the only communication I've seen. And I had not heard anything about it going to Planning Commission, which doesn't mean that it isn't. But I would assume, I would have thought it would have sort of been handled by the planning department, If it goes to Planning Commission, then it may well have to go to council afterwards, but I have not heard that. So I'd be surprised. I mean, ideally, I think the goal is for staff to take care of it and it not to have to go to any reviews. But again, I don't know what their threshold is for determining that this is a bigger project or a bigger structure than the original agreement was supposed to accommodate. But that's, again, that's basis on one memo, and I don't have in-depth information.
Right. And I think that's what we're all waiting to hear is, you know,
Yeah.
how big is too big, you know, or whatever. So.
And I think if, as you said, if it's on the same pad, if nothing needs to be done on the pad and that can accommodate, then that to me should be a compelling argument. But that's just in terms of size, excuse me, not necessarily to do with the infrastructure, which is a whole different ballgame. But obviously it's reasonable to be able to expect to breathe and not have, you know, in the summer and not have blue fingers in the winter. But so yeah, sorry, I don't have any up-to-date information on that. So hopefully staff can accommodate it and it doesn't have to go through some endless reviews. Well, they won't be endless, but review processes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Nelvin, are you back? Do you have any questions?
No questions. Just wanted to echo Freddie's sentiment regarding welcome back. It's kind of nice that you're able to get the whole crew back together again, and hopefully they'll be happy now that the weather's nice.
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to cap it at two things. Getting, you know, as a volunteer organization and getting people working again, it's huge. The Friends are an amazing volunteer group who are very dedicated to their duties. And also, I think, you know, while the building may be bigger, the one thing that caught my eye was getting Rose some square footage back. And a place to read. You know, I like to read those French Canadian graphic novels that all the time. But anyway, if you need any help or in any way, let us know. Thank you very much, Catherine.
Thank you.
So with that, I would like to move to item number 3, an update from the Ncla.
All right.
Cindy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start with Lolly, and then I'll move on to Ncla. I wanted to let you know that at Tuesday morning's meeting, we did vote to update our vision and mission statements because I think it's the first time since Lolly was formed. And the big change is that we expanded to include the scope of Lolly's reach to include the county. And that was because we were starting to see this pre-COVID. And then of course, during COVID, it really tested everybody's powers and capabilities to go virtual. And we don't see this going away. We actually see it as a combination that most likely many of our sessions will be in person and available through virtual means. So I was very pleased to see this big change. It's very subtle in the mission vision statement, but it is there. It's subtle, but I think it's going to have a big impact. And we are working on the Science and Technology Week that we always host in October. We're working with Rose on activities and a speaker. And we have 2 very powerful potential speakers. Both of them are women. One is from Google and one is from UC Berkeley. She would be talking about neuroscience. And not right now, I cannot remember what the Google person would be speaking about. And my notes are not in front of me. But we're looking forward to either one of them. And I'll keep you posted on that. I also want to let you know that Bob Simon, who is a founder of Lolly, and so obviously he's been involved the entire time. If you haven't heard, he is on hospice now. He's in his 90s, and although he is in hospice, at times you cannot tell because he's responding to emails. He's alert. He's still contributing in the Bob Simon way. One of our directors wrote a poem in the Bob Simon style, and we delivered that to him. And then just last week, we delivered a fruit and nuts and candy type of basket for him and for any guests that he has visiting, just to kind of ease all of the trauma that is happening at his home. He is at home with his wife and a 24-hour caregiver plus his children. So, and the children are coming and going, so I don't think his passing away is imminent. It's just that he is on hospice. If any of you would like to send him a note either digitally or physically, please let me know and I will give you that information offline rather than doing it in a meeting like this. So any questions about Lolly right now? Okay, thank you. On Ncla, we met Monday evening. We had very limited time because of other commitments. As you know, we have 3 elected officials on Ncla, and their time is so precious and so tight that we kept the agenda fairly short and brief, but although I was able to put the library task force on the agenda, so I spoke briefly to that topic, and during that time, I did introduce the idea of let's look at specifically at Woodland. So I'm going to jump to the end result, and then I'll go back and fill in the middle. So we are looking to have a meeting in July, and the Woodland topic specifically will be on the agenda. So it will not be part of the library task force. It will be there to talk specifically to it. And you will be invited to present at that time. So it will be agendized, so there will be time there for you. So I talked about the library task force, and I indicated to Ncla that prior to COVID and during COVID, we have heard a lot from residents about, is there going to be a new library and what's going to happen with Woodland? So it was a combination of both. And the conversation about Woodland generated a lot of questions from the Ncla directors or commissioners. And some of the questions were, why would Ncla take on this activity? Should it be a Los Altos City Council initiative? Is there a role for the Library Commission to play? What would be the estimated cost? These are all questions that you can just, they're standard questions. How does the Woodland Library fit into with the main library redevelopment? Who should and could lead this next venture, and who would fund it? So those were just some of the questions I was able to capture during a really quick conversation. And I think my recommendation is if you would want to reach out individually to some or all of the commissioners prior to the meeting and ask them for their questions so that you could be prepared. And I can be prepared because I'm obviously supporting this, that I think that would be a good way to go so that your presentation or conversation is to the point. You don't have to keep coming back and forth. So any questions? Oh, and I also wanted to let you know that one of the questions I've been working on with Freddie, and I want to put it in this part, and it'll probably come up in the work plan too, is Freddie has been looking at the history of Woodland. How did it get started? Who funded it? And I was able to speak to Pat Johnson and Elaine Dobner, both people who were very instrumental in getting the bond initiative passed many years ago. And one of the initiatives was specifically for Woodland, and it was a little close to $4 million, I believe. They walked the blocks because this was pre-internet, pre-electronics, pre-digital. And so they walked the blocks, they knocked on doors, and they said there was absolutely no opposition, that everybody said yes, that even North Los Altos said, yes, we need to have a library down that area. And part of that was because they recognized that Los Altos residents in the south part of the town were going to Cupertino and to Mountain View because it was easier well, it was easier. There was no library here to go to. So they wanted to pull those residents back into our town and have them use the resources that we were funding through the county, which I thought was very interesting to know about. So those are a few of my notes right now. So I will take questions. Hopefully I'll be able to answer them.
So thank you. And are there any members of the public who have any questions for Cindy? If no, then we'll go to the commission and we'll start off with Commissioner Liu. Ying.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Cindy, for the update. I think that's definitely encouraging. With regard to the Woodland, can you comment a little bit further on if there, any sort of directional consensus from the meeting or from the people you met with? Because for me, I always felt like Woodland and then the southern part of Los Altos is part of Los Altos. I think the residents there should have, equal access to the public amenities like a library. So I'm also trying to understand that you said that there are city council members and people from other functions of public services. So can you share with us if there's any sort of thoughts or directions?
At this point, there aren't any other than they were enthusiastic to learn more and to converse with all of us. So that's why it was an easy item to get onto the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see. So when is going to be the next meeting?
Thank you. Hopefully it's going to be in July. We are checking calendars right now. It will be on a Monday evening starting at 5:30. So just look at those 4 Mondays. And actually, I think there might only be, so just take a look at the calendar and see. But we're doing a doodle scheduling thing right now.
I see. So once the date is picked, would you mind, is that too much to ask if you can send an email to us, and then I will try to make myself available. Yeah.
Yes. And I also want to let you know, this last meeting, it took a lot of time to find the date. And so it kept moving around for this May meeting. And hopefully we will settle on it quicker for the July meeting.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I think as long as even 24-hour notice, that's better. Sometimes I just sort of not know what's going on. And then, okay, yeah, I think that will be very helpful. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And also, maybe in the near future, I remember a year and a half ago, there was a joint meeting between I think the Ncla and then also the library commissioners. Maybe in the future, we should consider something as well, so we can have more collaborative efforts together.
Yes, and I also want to let you know that in the Ncla guidelines, we actually only need to meet twice a year. We're not like a commission where you meet every month. And so meeting even 4 times a year is double what their expectations are. So this year we're trying to reduce their number of meetings that we have to go to. Mm-hmm. Previously, they were meeting almost every other month because of the task force. Mm-hmm. And hopefully this way we can figure out a better way to inform Ncla without asking the commissioners to attend more meetings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's okay. I think for me, I don't mind the more meetings, but I'm more interested in what kind of progress we can make. if we can collaboratively setting a timeline and target, and then the roles and responsibilities, I think that's definitely the tangible, I think, results coming from those meetings. Yeah.
And the fortunate thing is that Sally Meadows, Council Member Sally Meadows, is on the line, and she is on Ncla. So you're double covered here right now. So she's hearing all of this.
Okay. Is Courtney Corrigan still on the Ncla?
No, she finished out her term.
Okay, I see. So is there a representative from Los Altos Hills?
Yes, there is.
Okay, thank you.
Lisa, I believe.
Yes,
Schmidt.
thank you.
And thank
Jamie
you.
has her hand raised.
Oh, Jamie.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to point out is that, and I can send it to all the commissioners at the end of the meeting, but if you want to receive notices for when NCLA meetings are posted, you can sign up, and not just for NCLA, but any other announcements and news that you want from the city. You can sign up to receive those notifications. So I'll send that out to all the commissioners if you want to sign up to receive those.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jamie. That's I use that. That's the only way to keep track of when meetings happen. Commissioner G, any questions for Cindy?
No questions. I am looking forward to learning more about Woodland, and I have to believe that the enthusiasm level for Woodland has only increased as the population of South Los Altos has grown. So I was very happy to hear that it was initially developed via a bond measure, and perhaps we could tap into that if we have some modest plans for the expansion of Woodland.
I think that's a really interesting point that you make, Melvin, about the population increase. And if that was a data point that you all could find out, you know, over time, how has this area been developed? That would be really great. The other thing, thank you, because that also triggered the other point that Commissioner, oh, I'm blanking on her name right now, Suzanne mentioned, is that we have a number of county residents that have Los Altos and Los Altos Hills addresses that don't pay into the tax system right now because they're not city residents, but they live within our boundaries. And it's something that she brought up a couple of years ago, that possibly the city and county should look into integrating them into our system so that they do pay the same taxes that everyone else pays, because they are part of the boundary of the Los Altos Library system. If I'm making any sense, maybe Rose can explain it better.
They just want to make sure that the tax, the $76 that you see on your property tax bill, shows
Right.
up on these people's on their bill.
Right.
Do you want me to? I was just going to say it's because there's more homes than you would think that are unincorporated.
Yes.
So that's the key word, is unincorporated, and so they're not paying those property taxes.
Yes. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Wheeler.
Oh, I'm just very happy to be able to get on the agenda in July. That's fantastic. And thank you, Cindy. I think that's a better choice. I really appreciate your steering us to the July meeting, where we'll have more time. People will be prepared. And I appreciate the suggestion too of contacting those board members to get their questions. And so I'll work with you offline with Nelvin and Carol, and we'll work to get all that done before this July meeting and have everything ready.
Okay.
I also, we do have an infrastructure subcommittee meeting scheduled, and so I also think it would be a good idea to talk to you offline too about the presentation to the board. So I'd like to do that as well offline.
Okay.
We want to be as prepared as possible, and we want to make a good showing.
All right.
Super.
Thank you, Commissioner Chan.
Yeah, I also appreciate that the NCLA is supporting the reopening of, or New Woodland. Like Freddie mentioned, I think we need to be prepared, because apparently there would be a lot of questions from NCLA. So it'd be nice to, I guess, maybe the infrastructure subcommittee will discuss about it, because you know it best, right? You're you're basically on top of that. And then I guess we also have some special sessions coming up. So we all could discuss, right, about this, and maybe just have those questions that Cindy prepared or indicated to us so that we could get a chance to answer them or do a research, since we want to make sure the meetings are effective there, you know, since we don't have a lot of meetings with NCLA.
Right.
You know, could I just interject, Virginia? There are special session or whatever you want to call our special meeting is coming up on May 20th.
Yeah.
I think it would be good to have another one, because we're not going to have all those questions by then. So I think it's a very good point. And if we could have another session so that we could all collaborate on this, not just the infrastructure subcommittee, and get everybody's input, it would give us a much better chance to make a good showing.
Yeah,
for
I
the
think
July
so.
meeting. Yeah.
So I think we need to time it right. You know, for example, we need to collect some of the questions from Cindy first, and then maybe you get a chance to discuss it. We will also discuss it in the special session meeting.
Well, from what I'm gathering, I think that, correct me, Cindy, if I'm wrong, but I think what you're suggesting is that we, the infrastructure subcommittee, reach out to the board members and call them and get their questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can discuss as a group.
Right.
So we need to do that sooner rather than later, but I don't think we'll have it done by the 20th. So I think we need to have another session in June so that, and okay, Brown Act. Can I share the question?
May I say something?
With everybody. You know, well, wait a minute, Pierre.
Okay.
I just please ask a question.
Sure.
If the infrastructure gathers all of the questions, I don't think it would be a problem, but Sally, if you want to help me walk through this as well, I don't think it would be a problem if we just gathered all the questions that the board members had and then sent out an email to everybody on the Library Commission saying, these are the questions, and so that they would also be prepared for the June special meeting. I don't think that's an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why that would be an issue, but I'm not a lawyer. Jamie might have some input on that. I mean, if that's material in advance to help you prepare for a commission-wide meeting, I don't see why there's a Brown Act issue there. But Jamie, do you have some insights?
So clarification, you're looking to get at least guidance on what question or what information you should best prepare for the presentation. Is that the ultimate goal?
Yeah, Cindy has suggested that we contact the board members, the NCLA board members, and say, what questions do you have that you would like us to speak to when we meet with you, so that we can be prepared to answer those questions and provide that information. So we would call each one of these board members and say, you know, what questions do you have that you would like answered? So we would gather all those questions together and then distribute them to all the library commissioners so that they know what the questions are, as well as not just the infrastructure committee subcommittee, but all of the commissioners, so that when we meet in June, all of us, they will know what the questions were. They will have time also to research, help provide answers. So that when we meet in June, we're all on the same page. We've all had the same information. We're ready to discuss.
No, that should be fine as far, and I guess a few more logistical questions. looking at who the person would be to kind of get that information with each individual. I guess what I'm looking for is, like as an example, Commissioner A is going to be the main one to gather all of that information or questions from the different, or would it be divided up? And then
I think what would happen is Nelvin and Carol and I would divide the number of board members between us. The three of us on the infrastructure committee would call them, get their information. We would put it in one document, okay? And then we could send it to Jamie, to you, and you then could distribute it to the other commissioners.
That's exactly what I was looking for. I was hoping it was going to be just one subcommittee, and that subcommittee is going to be the one to ask those questions, as long as I'm the person that kind of distributes it to the commission, and it's more for informational purposes, and obviously emails not corresponding back and forth, then we should be good.
Perfect.
So let me just add, though, that the NCLA has to worry about the Brown Act as well. And so therefore, I don't think we should have multiple library commissioners contacting, divvying up the NCLA, because then you're putting all of us NCLA commissioners sort of in the same position. So maybe what the best suggestion is if Jamie is the interface, and Cindy, you can chime in here, but Jamie's the interface with Marcy Scott, who has sort of Jamie's role on the NCLA, and the communications go back and forth between them, and then that will really, help make sure that we're not creating some sort of daisy chain, but it's being handled centrally, both for NCLA and the commission.
Yeah, I like that idea, because then it's all done through email through the two liaisons. And because we wouldn't be asking NCLA members to provide answers, and they wouldn't be asking you to provide answers either, just what is the question that you might have.
Right. Oh, that's a great suggestion, Sally. So how do we initiate this? Somebody has to ask, who did you say it was, Sally? Marcy?
Marcy Scott, right? Cindy, isn't that her name?
Yes.
So she's the paid sort of administrator. That's not the right title, but
well, she has the same role as Jamie, where she takes care of all of the logistics.
So what I would suggest is Jamie can communicate with Marcy, explain what the task is envisioned, and then the two of you can set up the process in such a way that will work smoothly, and none of us will get in trouble.
Yes.
How about if I send Jamie an email requesting that she ask about, I can just go into a little bit of detail about the Woodland expansion plan, and that way she then has something to communicate to Marcy, so that Marcy has something concrete to give to the board members. Does that work?
Yeah, I think that works well. So
okay, that's a great plan. Okay.
Well, I would like to discuss this during our work plan presentation. I've been attending the NCLA meetings for quite a while, and I mean, I have some opinion as to what, how we should present it, and not necessarily what to present, because honestly, I don't know what the plan is for a Woodland expansion, because it's been done by the subcommittee. But I really believe that, I'd like to spend some time tonight specifically making everybody, if you can make everybody aware, Freddie, of where you're at, what you're thinking. But I think that it's not as complex as we think, and we can discuss that.
Yeah.
But that was the only point I wanted to make, having attended multiple meetings and sort of knowing what the NCLA can in fact do to help us, and what power they truly hold. And we can discuss that. But I wanted to go through and finish the questions. Commissioner Crane, if you have any questions regarding.
No, I guess I was surprised to do when they said that they didn't want Los Altos residents going to the Cupertino Library.
No, it wasn't that they didn't want them to go. They wanted to give them a choice of coming here to Woodland. And remember, this was 20 some years ago. So.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. I've got kids and cats in the background.
And I mean, my only question, Cindy, is this. I mean, I wish every member of the commission had been in the NCLA meeting. It was amazing. It was embarrassing in the sense of the props that we were given, you know, for the work we've done, for the work the subcommittees have done, were really amazing. And I know, Cindy, you were there, you heard it. And I was just, I don't take compliments well, but I was very proud of the commission. Having attended the NCLA meetings for quite a while, it was flat out amazing. So thank you for that. One thing also that we managed to make sure happened was there was a move to take out $50,000 that was allocated in the budget as to help reopen or to mitigate any COVID things that have come up. And we were able to keep that money in the budget. So from a starting point, there are monies available for activities such as what hopefully we're going to hear about today. So thank you very much for that. So with that, are there actually any final questions? Councilmember Meadows, anything else?
Pierre, maybe you and I should debrief because I was kind of wondering how you were reacting to some of that discussion in NCLA. So we can chat about that. Cindy's laughing too, because that was.
Well, I spoke up as a member of the public when I saw the money going away. And, you know, it went uphill from there. But it was, yeah, we can debrief on that.
Yeah. All righty.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to the next item, which is the city staff. Jamie.
All right, thank you. So the first thing that I will update everyone on is that our summer programs, staff is hard at work getting those programs ready, and our summer session will open for registration on May 24th, which is just about 2 weeks from now. And information for what programs will be available will be open on Monday, May 17th, and the summer session will cover June 14th through the August 28th timeframe. And in the report, there is a link to take a look when they're available on the 17th. There's the link in the report. We also will continue to have our virtual recreation center. That has been a positive resource for the community and just activities that people can do with their families, and a variety of different activities covering a variety of different topics as well. And then also, I'm going a little bit out of order, but I'll go to our COVID-19. We are keeping our COVID-19 resource pages on the city website as updated as possible. So we do have information on the vaccine implementation, and then also our resource link so that you have the most updated information. But the next piece that I will share is very, very excited, and this was a labor of love for myself. But I was actually going to do just a brief presentation on our new recreation management software system that, come on. Sorry, it's being a little bit slow. There we go. All right, so our new recreation management software system is called Civic Rec through Civic Plus. And let me make sure that I have sounds shared. Come on. So I'm just going to do a quick video that our marketing specialist actually put together. So just briefly going through this part, our old system was Vermont Systems RecTrack 10.3. It was originally implemented in March of 2008, so it was quite an old system. It was not cloud-based. It was not user-friendly for staff or the community. It had really limited search functionality for online registration. Just as an example, you had to put almost verbatim what the name of the class was to find it, which is not really user-friendly. And also there was just limited tech support. So lots of reasons for us to want to upgrade. When we look at the timeline, and this was a project of mine, we released the RFP to find a new system back in February, at the end of February 2020. And it closed on April 10th. And we actually went through a selection process. We got 6 proposals, and we actually selected a vendor, which ended up being Civic Rec with Civic Plus in June. And then in August, we kicked off our implementation process, and going from a new system definitely takes some time and effort to build that. So over the course of August through March 2021 is when we did most of our training and system build. And then, as I reported at the last meeting, we launched back in March 22nd, 2021 with our spring season, and it has gone fairly well. The new system is cloud-based. It is much more user-friendly, and for the staff and the community, it has enhanced online search functionality, reporting and communication. Perfect example is you could put DA if you were looking for dance, and you'll get a chance to see once I show you, but it'll bring up everything with DA, or there's other categories that you can search by as well. And the biggest part for us communication wise is that we can set up things to be automatically sent. So once someone signs up for a class, and at the end of the class, the day after the class ends, we can send out a survey to find out how they liked the class, and additional questions that we can set up. And through the system, we also have the ability to send text updates as well, if the individuals through the household have signed up to receive text message updates. Improved integration with our finance system, and absolutely better technical support than we received with our past system. And there are multiple ways to navigate. So from our landing page for Recreation Community Services, quite a large button there, but you can actually click directly on that to be taken to our new Civic Rec page. You can also go from our class registration page. There's basic information of what we included in our press release, and this is an image that was sent out. But here is where you can also navigate to the homepage for Civic Rec as well. And then this is what our Civic Rec landing page looks like. It is a hosted website, and there, oh, sorry, went a little bit too fast, but that, as you can see, is what our landing page goes to. But one of the benefits of this new system is that we have Audio Eye, which allows for better accessibility. And so it's this little button, and it actually opens up and gives you a toolbar that you can use if you need to look at the website in a different way. So as an example, this toolbar will open up, and these are the abilities that you have within the Civic Rec page. So you can have a larger cursor, a reading guide, you can emphasize certain areas, provide different contrast, highlight headings and links. You can change the text size, the spacing, the font, disable animations, display alternate text, and there is an audio player. So if you need it to hear the information versus seeing it, that is ability as well. The spring marketing mailer that came out roughly around the March 22nd timeframe when we launched it had information on what we were offering, and then the steps to create your new account, seeing the same image there. And again, as it says on there, you have the ability to update your household. You can actually, if you want to, save payment information to make payment easier, and you can add people at any time. We also created some tutorial videos, which are on our webpage as well. So if you need to watch a tutorial on how to create an account or to register, we have that available to help you walk you through that. It is important to note that we did not transfer information from our old system. So if you would like to sign up for any activities that we're doing, you would need to create a new account. But that is pretty much it. I'm very excited that we're upgrading. It's a great new infrastructure for us as we're preparing for the new community center, and we've heard nothing but really positive feedback about use of the new system. It makes communicating and registering so much easier. Actually, I forgot there was one, but no, that's pretty much it for us, and happy to answer any questions. And I'm sure the other piece, I think to Catherine's question, at this point, the community center, we're expecting or anticipating completion to be done in midsummer. We're thinking around the June, July timeframe. And so at this point with our phased opening plan, we are planning to open up the community center in fall, which it's looking to be in the late September, early October timeframe. That's what we're targeting. And so many groups, local groups are really excited about the prospect of getting access to the community center. So Catherine, you can always reach out to me, and we can, I know the Friends of the Library have held their sales there, and so we can work at taking a look at possibly getting something on the calendar, because we've had some groups submit applications. Obviously, it's pending everything is completed and done, but I know people are submitting their requests for consideration at this point. Nothing is confirmed until we know for sure that the building is we can get in and get inside. So I will stop there and see if there's any questions.
So are there any questions from the public? with
Looks
that,
I do, Catherine. So, Jamie, I think we have already submitted an application, so we should just sit on that?
Yes.
Or, okay, just wait, okay.
Absolutely. If you already have that in, that is fabulous. That's exactly what we need. And we have a lot of individuals throughout basically from the fall on. So we're hoping to get some final timelines, and we're working on all of that. So if you have that submitted, that's perfect.
Okay.
great. Commissioner Crane, questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Chan? Virginia?
I have no question.
Questions?
No.
Nope. Commissioner Wheeler?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner G?
Just one question, and that is, this sounds like a scheduling tool for the rec activities. Is there an instance that will be used in the library as well, such as for scheduling the orchard room?
Great question. So scheduling of the orchard room would still be separate, because I know the county still runs at least access and how that's scheduled. So it wouldn't necessarily fall under us, but it would still be through Rose and her staff.
Okay. I was hoping that we'll have enhanced reporting tools for orchard room too. All right, thanks.
And I believe is Ying still here?
No, Ying had to pop off for another meeting.
And my only question is very much like Commissioner G's, which is there going to be any integration with the library? But I mean, that's a comment more than anything. So thank you very much.
No, thank you.
So with that, brings us to the next portion of our agenda, items for consideration and action. Are there any comments on the minutes? I found one typo myself on, I mean, it's minor. Under number 11, library needs to be spelled correctly.
Yep.
And I think that's it from me. Anyone else? Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Can you call roll, please?
Yep, absolutely. I'll start with Commissioner G.
Aye.
And Commissioner Chan.
Yes.
Commissioner Crane.
Yes.
Vice Chair Wheeler.
Yes.
And Chair Bedard.
Yes.
And that passes.
Great. The next we go to item number 6, the work plan. And what I would suggest at this point, and I bet I'm open, is to go straight into the commissioners' reports and comments and go through the subcommittee reports and where everybody can essentially get up to speed as to where the subcommittee, what works the subcommittees have been doing, so we can have that exchange of information and relevant discussion.
Could I just ask one question of Jamie, perhaps, on the work plan?
Sure.
Why is it still has a draft, the word, can we update that?
It's been approved, so I will remove that watermark.
Thank you.
Great catch. So with that, should we go to the shall we go to item 7 and infrastructure subcommittee?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So, excuse me. Well, we've been working on the two projects, the Woodland expansion and the Patron Survey. So if I can figure out how to share my screen, Jamie, am I allowed to share?
You should be right at the bottom of the screen. There's a share button.
And you should be allowed, and the only thing you'll need to make sure, Freddie, is that the window or information that you want to share needs to be an open window, so it can't be iconized at the bottom. So as long as it's open, and then when you click the green share button, it basically will pop up and you can click which box you want to share.
Okay, I've already messed up. Let me, I think maybe, okay, let me get out of that. So I need to open up my document that I want to share, right? Okay.
Yes.
Let me do, okay, I've done that. Now it's huge, so it takes up the whole screen. Hang on, that doesn't work. Okay, wait a minute. Let me see if I can move it. How can I make it not take up the whole screen? No.
And Freddie, if you want to, you can email it to me and then I can share it.
Let me try it. Let me see. I've moved it. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, can you see that?
Yep.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So, this is what Melvin created. And so this is the new plans that look reasonably, you know, professional. They certainly look better than they used to. Here's the building, the current building. If you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor? Yeah, okay. So here's the children's reading area. The library staff counter is right across here. I couldn't figure out how to make a red line. I need to talk to you again, Melvin. Okay, we need to do some more together. Here's the front entrance to the building. This over here is the stacks and the adult reading room area over here. And so the dotted line is the proposed expansion. And this is kind of like the current configuration, because we were thinking that maybe this area here could be utilized for parking. There's also parking proposed for here along the frontage road. And I will have that, next time I'll have that slide lined up better. But anyway, this is the teen room and the community meeting room. This entire area here would be glass with sliding glass doors. And the idea is to make this, and this would be glass here as well. This wall would be glass. The idea is to make what's going on in these rooms, especially the teen room, as visible to the library staff as possible. And this is just, you know, these rooms could be switched. This could be the teen room to be closer to the library staff. So about, you know, they may have a better view. These dimensions are also dimensions that I need to revise to make sure they are correct. And I need to do that with Melvin, so that we're proposing about a 3,000 square foot addition that would be divided into these two rooms. And I need to make sure that this is about 3,000 square foot. I think it's a little bit bigger than 3,000 square foot. And if we reduced it, it would be coming off of this south side. But we just need a 25-foot setback. And this is currently, I believe, a 45-foot setback. Is that correct, Nelvin?
Yeah, I don't recall. I'll have to go take a look at the document.
Okay, I think you told me it was at 45-foot square setback. But anyway, we will tighten up all of these dimensions, make sure everything is as reasonably to scale as possible with what we're working with, and to also show the parking, which I think is important, because there's quite a bit more parking that can be added to this site, even if we don't do anything in this part right here. But that's what it looks like right now. Carol's son is an architect, and he has given us some cost figures, and they also we also decided that we would use the cost per square foot that the city was planning on paying for the expanded, or for the new library when it was when we were doing the new library, and that's $1,000 a square foot. Carol's son believes that's more than adequate, so we'll do all the cost projections based on that. Excuse me. With that said, I will stop sharing. Okay. Now, do you want to talk about the patron survey?
Are there any questions from the group?
Can I ask? Oh, sorry. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Is there any limitation on the, for example, the FAR, the floor area ratio, how big we can build?
Don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
So, in other words, it could be 3,000 or it could be 4,000. Depends on the size we need.
It could be, you know, to be honest, Virginia, I'm trying, you know, the thought was to try to keep this to serve the purpose intended, which, you know, the origin of this is the noise problem.
Okay.
There's a noise problem, and there's a space allocation problem. A lot of the library is really devoted to children's spaces, and not enough adult spaces. And then there's a real noise problem in that building. So we thought that isolating the noisy kids into a teen room would really be very, very helpful. It would allow them to, you know, to have their space to congregate and, you know, do what they need to do. We were hoping that the community meeting room might also be utilized by the tutors. There's, you know, there are a lot of kids who are tutored, and even when the tutors are trying to use their library voice, it still carries. It's very distracting. And adults who want to go there and read or work, I mean, I really got an earful as a library commissioner. So, and it's true. I mean, I spent quite a few afternoons at the library to see for myself, you know, what was happening. And it's just, you know, the nature of the space. It just needs some help. And so the idea is to provide spaces that can be used by the kids, because we want the kids to be able to go to the library. I mean, that's a great place for the kids to go and use the resources there. And yet also make it a good place for the adults to be able to go and do what they need to do. And there are computers there for adults to access as well as the kids. But and having this community meeting room which could be a multi-purpose room for many, many things. You know, Rose has always said that she has more children's programs than she has room to schedule. So it might be nice to have children's programs on the South Los Altos, because there's certainly a lot of kids down here too. But it would also just be another community resource that could be used by, you know, different groups who want to meet. You know, I don't know what kind of, but there's all kinds of groups that want to meet, you know, who need rooms. And, you know, if you've ever tried to book the orchard room for your meetings, you know, it's a difficult space to book. It's booked up all the time. But anyway, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. I just want to, you know, I guess there's a sweet spot, you know, between how large a space you need and then the cost for building it and so on. The other quick question is, you know, because of COVID and everything, now they're talking about being indoor with all the droplets and the aerosol and things like that. So ventilation has to be good, or maybe there are windows that you can open. That might be something also to consider when we make it an indoor space like that.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you know, the other interesting thing is, I think the addition, the prices were with its own separate HVAC system, and it would probably have a much better HVAC system than the current Woodland Library, which, you know, it's too bad. There needs to be some money to upgrade that HVAC system as well, but that's a county issue, unfortunately, I think. But definitely, you know, the windows, you know, and the kids, I think, you know, there's a lot of glass windows in the Woodland Library, you know, like the whole back area is glass. And so I think it would be nice to have as much glass as possible, because it would have a good feel, but also internally, the idea of the glass is visibility. And the idea being no additional staff required, because they can see what's happening.
That's a great idea. Okay, thank you.
Oh, and just so you know, so I started with 5,000 square foot, but the whole library, the entire Woodland is 5,000 square foot. So I thought, oh, okay, that's overkill. And of course, too, in my mind, you know, I have no idea what I'm talking about half the time as far as, you know, space. You have to actually measure it out. And so it seemed like 3,000 square foot was really adequate when I actually looked at it for the needs for what we're talking about here.
That's good. And it would be interesting to get a price on it so that we know, oh, maybe we can afford more, or if it's too expensive or something.
Well, at $1,000 a square foot, that's $3 million for a 3,000 square foot addition, which I'm also hopeful that, you know, and again, this is all relative. $3 million is not a huge amount of money. And, you know, one of the things that I thought might be certainly worth looking into is trying to raise funds, you know, not just try to do a bond issue. I mean, maybe we have to do a bond issue, but if we could try to be really creative and find ways to raise this money, raise it, you know, privately to give to the library to build this, that would be fun. Even if we can only do half of it, it would be a great start, you know. But I really think we could raise at least $1.5 million if we really tried hard and put our, you know, really worked at it. So it's not, you know, it's like there's so many pieces to this puzzle to try to make it happen. But I think it's a modest proposal that's reasonable, that meets a need, that's a real need. And I'm hoping our community gets behind it, and that it, it will happen.
Right. Can do a GoFundMe page.
And Pierre, we have a member of the public that has their hand raised.
Sure. Please let them in or let them speak.
All right,
All right,
Diane.
thank you, Jamie. This was the part of the meeting I was anxiously waiting for, so I'm glad to hear some of the details of this, Freddie. And for the rest of you who don't know me, I've actually been involved in 2 efforts to expand the main library. The first was many, many years ago, which I don't know if anyone here but me would remember. It was a very short-lived sort of grassroots effort. And then, of course, the library redevelopment process. And I raised my hand in order to ask sort of what the objective was of what you were trying to do. And Freddie, I think you've talked a lot about that. So that's helpful. So I thought I might take the opportunity to speak tonight to just say, contact me if you want any input. I think your presentation coming up to the NCLA is really, really important. And having been through 2 of these efforts, a little unsolicited advice, I know it's really easy and can be compelling to try to figure out all the details right up front, but I don't think you need to. I think you can help your project the most by really being clear on the problem you see, the objectives you have, and why do you think the expansion was needed. And I listened to you. You have some really, really good ideas, and it sounds like you have data to support the problems. And then just what you want to accomplish, and then just show this as a draft idea. Because before it moves forward and before you get funding, there will be, experts on structural engineering and architects and all that who will really dig in the details. But I think what in front of you right now is to sell the concept that this is something that can be needs to be fixed, can be fixed, and you want to get support to move forward. So I hope that's helpful, and contact me. I'm happy to give more advice or look at materials and give you input on it.
That would be wonderful. I'm wondering how can I reach you?
You know what? I'm the membership chair of Friends of the Library, so I think you're a member, so I think I have your email address. So I'll drop you an email right now.
That would be great. Thank you so much, Diane. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to second what Diane said in that the concept is fantastic. This is thought through, right? You presented this and the ideas in last March. And what I would see going to the NCLA for is that $50K to take that idea and run with it. Figure out, use the funding to actually put some backing behind it. As Diane said, it'll have to be looked at by engineers, et cetera. And the simpler you keep it, and the multi-purpose is brilliant. I mean, if it were up to me, you'd have a sliding glass lanai on the back end to let the wind in. As for the HVAC, we are in California after all. But the proposal is good. The community needs it. They have needed it. You've ascertained that, and presenting it to the NCLA to move this idea to move it forward and to get their support. And there's money for this. We've been trying to, I've been trying to make sure the NCLA understands that they have responsibility for, more than buildings to really help our services and stuff. I mean, this is all very, very, very good and coming at the right time, Freddie. So I just wanted to really make, this is fantastic.
Well, thank you. Nelvin and I and Carol have worked on this, and we're excited about it. So.
And you have community excitement. I mean, all the regional meetings people are continually pinging about when is Woodland going to open. And this really, what we need, I think, more than anything is hope. And this is a great idea. We need the space. It's a good bite-sized chunk. I mean, I can't say enough. So that's my comment.
And Chair Bedard, Cindy had her hand up, and then I think we should also.
Sure, we need to
I
go
can't.
around.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let everybody know that Diane is going to be meeting with all of you and me when we give the history of the task force. So I had also asked Barbara Avery, but she's not available. But I think with Diane, you've got a treasure trove of information.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Who else had their hand up, or should we go around? Commissioner Crane?
Yeah, hi. I don't think that there's any question that this is a good proposal and that it's needed. So I kind of echo, I think, what I thought Virginia was saying, in that maybe we shouldn't limit it to 3,000. Maybe we should look at 5,000 because there was a big piece of space that wasn't used. And I think you could actually, if you're going to have more patrons, it would make sense to have more space perhaps for the library staff and circulation. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it makes sense.
And we've heard from Virginia and Commissioner G.
Yeah, I think in terms of the problem statement, we did an analysis of patron surveys that were conducted in 2019, and we'll have to include that when we come up with a final proposal, because we can actually show a linkage between the problem we're solving as well as to what the community says it needs.
Great. And with that, I'm going to send it back to you, Freddie.
Yes.
For you were about to discuss the patron survey.
No, that's Nelvin. That's Nelvin.
Melvin.
Yeah, so the Santa Clara County Library District spent time to survey residents across the district, and we had a number of responses for Los Altos as well as for Woodland. I don't have the presentation in front of me right now, but the subcommittee is still reviewing, and once it's approved, we'll submit it as something that we can discuss at a future library commission meeting. And our focus, by the way, for looking at the patron surveys was really around infrastructure and how it relates, particularly with regards to Woodland.
Great. Any comments on the patron survey or questions for Commissioner G? I'll start, Commissioner Crane. Julie?
All right.
That's all right.
Can you keep going around? I'll come back to me.
Okay. Regina?
I don't have any questions.
And Commissioner Wheeler?
I have no questions.
And my only question is, good data is always good to bring it together.
Yep.
So. And Julie?
No questions. I'm good. Thank you.
Anything from the public? Diane?
No, no hands raised.
No hands raised. And Councilmember Meadows, would you like any comments on the work of the infrastructure committee? No? Okay. At this point, I guess we're moving to the services committee. I don't know, Regina, do you want to talk a little bit to that?
I think Pierre did a very good job on the website that he created. It has a lot of information, and he shared it with us on our subcommittee meeting. We've also, I think he's constantly modifying it to make sure that the information is updated. So that was very good.
Let me share that real quick with the latest. So what I did is put together what I'm calling our Library Commission resources. It starts off with a slider. You can see we have something for the Friends. And then here's the Friends page. And this will link you to the actual Friends page. But I think the biggest thing we were able to accomplish is really the our services, which, let's see. What essentially each of these links take you to the Santa Clara County website. So if you want to get to the great courses or LinkedIn Learning, or what I've used is O'Reilly for Public Libraries, it takes you into the county site. And if I'm logged in, it remembers that it's me. If I'm not logged in, it asks for your login information and then remembers where you were headed. And in this case, I was going to the O'Reilly Learning, which is a fantastic site, which actually I've been using, to learn. And you can see it's pretty snappy, even over Zoom, or sorry, Ring Central. And it shows just all, everything you've got. And the library has done a lot to upgrade its e-services. It's much better from, prior to today than it was prior to pandemic. So I keep updating this site. It's fairly snappy. I mean, I've got performance, it's secure. I've got an SSL certificate on it. All the pictures I've taken except for the Friends of the Library. I'm more than willing to, if you have input on pictures or even what I've written, let me know. Our work plan's there. I try to put the monthly librarian reports here for people. I published something, I'll talk about it for the futures, but I just published at long last a paper that I was trying to write about library naming rights, what you can do and what you can't do, and different examples, what are naming rights, different examples from different libraries as to how they approach it. This was something I had told Cindy I was going to do about 2 years ago that I finally got to, but I've put it up here. And all this is available for comment. People can leave comments if they'd like. In the comments section. So anyway, I'm trying to get, this is sort of awareness, but really I was driven to itemize the services and make sure that those were available. So Regina, what we haven't done is correlated the data that we've received. Julie and I and Regina haven't really correlated the data that we received from Bryant as to what services are very popular and what aren't. We're also looking at maybe doing reviews of certain services. Like I've been thinking of doing a review on the O'Reilly books, which are mind-boggling. I mean, you can find anything you want on tech and teach yourself pretty much anything. And that's just one of the services. We're not the tutorials, everything is up on that page. And if a link's broken, I know automatically that a link's gonna break, that is broken. so I'll be notified. So there's not a big burden of maintenance. Any questions? I'm not going to poll everybody, I think, on this one. I just wanted to show.
I have a question.
Sure.
This is a question that Awareness addressed about continuity. So we were concerned that we had processes written up and in place and try to make everything as easy as possible so that when we hand this on to our successors, everything will be able to continue, okay, without us. How about this website?
Well, the construct is very simple. The software is free. As long as there's a place to host it, somebody can, very easily maintain it. The data, almost all the data in there are subcommittee reports or things that have been presented as part of the public record, memos, things of that nature. But yeah, continuity is going to be an issue. You bring up a very good point. And I'll be happy when you take it over, Freddie.
No. I just think that that's an important thing we should, everything that we create as a process, assuming that it has a lifetime, a long lifetime, I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that it's not dependent on us, that it's very easy, that we've documented our processes, that it's real easy to hand it over to the next set of commissioners.
I'll take that under advisement.
Okay.
But I've really tried to keep it simple.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. That's what that's why I'd like to see it survive.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well,
yeah.
If someone learns to access the O'Reilly books, they can keep it going. No, I know exactly what you mean. And I think one thing I worry about is if we make it too public and it starts getting too many hits, will the server sustain it and stuff? And I've been battle hardening it. So I've overcome that piece of it, but I definitely, we need to make sure it continues. Any other questions or?
Would it make sense then for people who look at the Los Altos Library website to have a link then to your website?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's really a question for the county. There's actually a method of getting a link linked onto the county library website. I haven't looked at and I don't think it was meant necessarily for this, but there is a form that I could fill out and the county could vet it and make sure it's okay.
Yeah, not particularly to the county website, but to the Los Altos, because all the information is related to just Los Altos, right?
I've talked to Jamie about that. I don't know if Jamie wants to comment on it or whether we can do that.
No, so two different parts, because I think and even to Virginia, because I know the Santa Clara County has the overall, and then there's obviously the specific to the Los Altos Library. Some of the information, it's kind of commingled, just because there is the commission information, which that definitely information is housed on the city website. And I know there's similar to actually what Pierre said, both county and the city do have specifics on what information is on or linked or things like that. So, but all the information, as Pierre has mentioned, these are all documents that are public documents that are on the Library Commission's page and can be found there as well. But Pierre has a very beautiful and lovely way to display some of that information. That our system is
Oh, it's okay.
speaking on the city side, has a very specific format that it has to follow. So, but for myself, I know Pierre and I have been talking about how we can improve the information that has been on the Library Commission's website page through the city as well too. So working on those pieces.
But just going back and sharing a little, I mean, the reason I put this up here like this is that so we'd have, you know, you could get to the work plan or the library project that, you know, you proposed, and that was accepted and voted on back in March 2020. And you can see it's the letter, right, with all your information available for download, everything you presented. You know, and this is, I mean, this is pretty good stuff. And a lot of work goes, I mean, a lot of work goes into what we do. So publicizing it, and this is extremely easy to put up. It's not a chore. Anyway, I wanted to show that because, you know, and this shows really, I think this is testament to the infrastructures, the maturity of your proposal, I guess is the best way to put it, Freddie.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Anyway, any further questions, or shall we move to awareness?
Okay. So awareness, we have our Lolly ad that's going every month, and we have the PSAs, and we are working on getting a process together to make sure that those are routinely done. So, I mean, we need PowerPoints for the TV station, we need scripts for the radio station, and we're in the process of creating processes to make sure that happens. Regina, do you want to talk about Talon and that project?
Yeah, so we had a meeting with Lolly back in April, and we did a presentation on a proposal to get funded for the Los Altos High School newspaper, the Talon. So it got approved. Happy to report that it got approved, both for the print issue and the online issue. And I think Rose has a very good idea because originally I thought summer would be slow, but actually she had a very good point that summer, actually we wanted to attract kids to do the summer reading program. So I think it comes in the right timing. We can advertise something for May or June. And I think Rose is working on that. And we certainly like to help in any way to get that out. At the same time, since we got free press from the Mid-Peninsula Post, so we can add that to, you know, to the announcement too, that there'll be summer reading for the kids. Did I miss anything?
No, that was a great idea and proposal, and it was approved, and so Virginia is off and running with it, and with that, it's great.
And if I shared my screen again, you would see the PSAs are there, as well as the Lolly ads are available on the website. So again, as a reference to the subcommittees, as you do your work and want to see what's been done, it's very easy to refer to that.
We're preparing to go back to Lolly to ask if they will continue to fund the town crier ads on, you know, we do one town crier ad per month for that Lolly sponsors and pays for. And so our first ad was August of 2020. So they approved for 1 year. And so we're going to prepare to go back and ask for funding for another year and see if they'll be willing to do that.
That's fantastic. Any questions from the public?
No hands raised.
No hands raised. And I'm just going to go, Julie, any questions? Commissioner Crane?
It's not really a question, but as we were going through the services, I saw all of those magazines online and I didn't know that they were there. And I was wondering if there could be a partnership between the awareness subcommittee or the library commission and perhaps Greentown Los Altos or some other, advocacy groups for, I can't think of the word, but not using paper products. I know that a lot of people like the feel of it in their hand, but having those resources online, I thought was really interesting. So that was my only comment.
Oh, I see. So you're saying advertise that people don't have to have their own magazine subscription, that they could do it online at the library.
Yes, because ultimately those magazines end up in landfills or at one of the many nail salons around town. So, right. But I think from a conservation perspective, having a lot of that material online is just brilliant. And I didn't realize how much was there. So it was just a comment.
Thank you.
Nelvin?
Yeah, so regarding the future subcommittee, we've been going along two different tracks. The first is trying to find a roadmap towards a redeveloped library. We had a good discussion with Cindy a few weeks back. We need to write it up so that way it's a firm proposal for the Library Commission to consider. The main activity there is to figure out how to reinitiate things at the correct level to have the task force explore putting together a proposal for a redeveloped library, most likely in the next major election cycle around 2024. Right now, I know things are still recovering from COVID and people are not necessarily in a great state of mind to consider a large bond proposal, but a few years from now, that could very well be. The other track is around how can we enhance the services at Woodland, primarily around operating hours. So Julie and others have been really good about tracking down folks that we could talk to that have actually done something like this. Ventura County Library, the library in Minneapolis. There's a library in Ontario, Canada as well, where they've implemented a solution that allows for people to access the library without staff present. And it's primarily not around reducing staff hours. In fact, staff hours are not affected, but rather around enhancing the number of hours where patrons can visit the library. So we're learning about that, and we'll have something put together after a few more interviews. And we'll discuss where we're at next week's meeting.
That's great. I'll just make a comment on the futures. I'm submitting formally as part of this meeting, and I posted it, my study on naming rights and how different libraries deal with naming rights. Something that we were looking at with the redevelopment committee, and as I explained, I did it, but it's really for the futures subcommittee to use.
Okay. And Julie, do you want to say anything additional regarding the guests that we're lining up for discussion?
We did talk to the individual from Minnesota. Tomorrow we're going to talk to representatives from Ventura County. Biblioteca is hopefully, we're going to talk to them next week. They're the ones who provide the actual services. If you go online, you can see Corona, the city of Corona, which I thought was, pretty interesting name in these times. They actually have a tutorial about how to use their services, and they've given us some additional information, but it's on YouTube. I had thought that we would sort of be out front, but I don't think we're out front. I was told by the Biblioteca rep that the city of San Jose is actually putting together information with respect to doing this, that they're moving forward with it. So it's interesting, it's exciting. It gives Freddie, when we were talking about, people who don't want to be around children, it gives people the opportunity to go in during off hours when it's very quiet and perhaps get their work done, get reading done, people who are early risers or late risers, so they're not committed to a certain time. I just think it's a very interesting opportunity for us to explore. So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the areas we need to kind of get some additional information on is how many potential vendors are out there, because Biblioteca has been busily acquiring the competition. And so far, they're the only name that has come up as offering this type of capability.
Are they the main vendor for, they're not the vendor for the county, are they? For the library system in general? Do we do business with them today? Does the county do business with them today? Maybe that's a question for Steve.
That's a good question. I don't know.
We do, yes.
I would have to think that we would. They're like so big.
They dominate. Okay, so that's the interface into the when you log in and stuff is through them. I thought I'd heard.
That's BiblioCommons. That's a different company, but we do work with Biblioteca in other capacities.
Oh, okay. Apologies, my confusion.
No, everybody wants to call their company Biblio, who's related to a library for some reason. We haven't figured out why, but we're working on it.
And may I ask this in a polite way, is Biblioteca a positive influence on our library system?
Yeah, I would say we have I'll turn my camera on again. Yeah, I'd say we have a good relationship with them. They do a lot of things. They experiment with a lot of different things too, and sometimes we're partners in that, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but they're always willing to try new things and work with us. So we've had a nice relationship with them in the past and currently.
Good to know. Yeah, good to know.
So any questions on futures? Virginia?
No, I think it all sounded very exciting, and I look forward to the meeting next week to hear more about it. Yeah.
I do too, definitely. And Freddie?
Me too. I'm just echo Virginia's comment. Yeah, it'll be next week's meeting will be great.
Okay. And that way we can, I mean, there's got to be affinity between the Woodland, right? Between infrastructure. I mean, that's the whole point.
Infrastructure and futures. Yeah. We just need to be able to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I think we did okay tonight.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Yes, but it's 8:44 right now.
Oh my God. I failed.
That's okay. We'll let this one slide.
All right. So on the work plan subcommittee, I'm the only one here, and I think I took you through the website. I'm going to keep refining it. Use it as a resource. It's really meant for the commission so that you have a place to go and you don't have to search all around for the documents. You know there'll be a PDF of your proposal there that's been submitted and approved by the commission. So with that, future agenda items, is that I think it's okay if I close out the commissioners' reports and comments. Any objections? None. And on future agenda items, I think let's talk about the next meeting. Is probably the biggest thing. We are going to have the redevelopment project history. Cindy and Diane will be giving that to us, which will be great. And the special meeting.
And for
are we going? Oh, go. Sorry, Freddie.
Can we at the next library commission? Would that be the time to try to schedule the next special session?
That
the
was
June special session in particular. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That was going to be my question, because I know we have the 20th scheduled. And so I heard a little bit of back and forth as to whether you guys would have everything together to do the 20th, or do we need, is the special meeting in June? I just wanted to clarify which, if we wanted to replace with the one in June, is it in addition to? Yes.
I think so. I mean, that's just me speaking as a commission person.
So we talked about the June one to be able to have everybody weigh in on the proposal for the NCLA on the Woodland project. By that time, they'll have all the questions. Everybody will have everything. And then the June meeting, special meeting, is for us to all get together and collaborate on what is this proposal going to look like so that it's in the best shape possible going to the NCLA. That's the purpose of the June special session. Okay? And so we just need to get a date so we're in good shape and everybody can be there.
No, absolutely. We do have 2 commissioners that are not here, so I can do an email to the commission to find out when in June. And so, clarifying question: do we still need the May 20th one?
Don't we? I mean, we have a lot to talk about.
I think we do, because I think that's when Nelson is going to talk about the future, right?
Yeah.
I think we do. We should meet.
Yeah.
I think we could use that time as a working session. We'll have some preliminary work product we can go through, but for the most part, I want to be able to have an open discussion.
Yeah.
So only clarifying question, because I just want to make sure. So we would have, there would be, and I guess my only clarifying question, because within that time, if we have the 20th, we would have 1 week, then we would have our regular library commission on June 3rd. Then there would be an additional, I guess my only clarifying question is, can we include, or do we want a separate meeting outside of a regular library commission, so that I'm just looking at schedule, because then that would put I think 1, 2, 3 within a span of about a month. So I just wanted to double check and make sure that, do we need all of those, or can we add to a regular library commission on June 3rd? That's my only my question to the commission.
Well, I think the other commissioners should weigh in. If it takes up a lot of time at the next regular commission meeting, if this project took up a lot of the time of the regular commission meeting, would that be a problem? I mean, because it would detract from everything else that everybody else is doing.
It wouldn't be, I mean, my opinion on this, it would not necessarily be a problem, but it's very, we have a lot of informational items up front. So we couldn't guarantee that. I would rather have a separate meeting. I would rather meet on the 20th and see where we get to, because I think there's a lot of information to exchange, and we can, plot out the approach.
We're not going to have the questions here by the 20th.
I don't think, well.
We're not going to have them. This is.
I understand. Well, this is why we need to have the meeting on the 20th, is to talk about the goal, what's the end result we want out of the NCLA meeting, regardless of the questions that come up.
My cat is in my closet. Okay. Well,
and let's say we decide to go forward with exploring self-service capabilities and actually recommend doing that. Should it be part of an integrated proposal with the Woodland expansion, or do we have it as 2 separate proposals?
And see, I thought we were going to talk about a lot of that kind of stuff on the 20th.
Yeah.
Not just the NCLA.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
Totally.
Proposal. Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, there's too many other things to talk about on the 20th, right?
Agreed.
And we won't have the questions back from the board, the NCLA board, by the 20th. So that information needs to be circulated to the commission as a whole. And then we can meet to get our act together for the presentation to the NCLA.
I agree. And
We have to have a separate meeting. Unless I just think it will just, it would be a huge time suck for one project when everybody else's subcommittees want to report and talk about what they're doing. I hear you, it's another meeting though. I absolutely hear you on that point. But it should, what do people think? I mean, Virginia, Julie?
No, I agree. It sounded like I'm not in either of the subcommittees, but it sounded like there is enough information to be discussed, right? So it will take up, look at us, we're almost at 9 o'clock, right? So we need to have a separate meeting just because there is enough information to be discussed. So I vote for, having a separate meeting.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. All right.
So we will get May 20th, and that will be the discussion on the self-service. As Nelvin pointed out, we will have our regular library commission meeting on Thursday, June 3rd. And then my only, what I can do is find out from the commission what options would be available for a special meeting in June, with the caveat that as I work with Freddie and then Marcy with the NCLA to get the questions that they might have that might affect what options would be available for the special meeting in June, so that we have that and can be timely in that as well. So I will get those scheduled. And then also for June, we will have the presentation by Cindy and Diane for the history on the library redevelopment. So that will be a presentation for the regular commission meeting.
Okay, and that's another good point. That's going to take time. So.
And it should. Yeah.
And it's very integral to knowing this. I told Cindy, knowing this background, it's like you want to know the lay of the land before you go asking for more, right? So I want to know exactly how Woodland got there, just so we don't run into any landmines. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Jamie, I just want to make a suggestion. We're going to have this ready for the July NCLA meeting. So there has to be, I think it makes sense for us to schedule a meeting, this special session, somewhere around, I don't know, the 15th to the 20th, in that window, to give us enough time then to have to get the presentation ready for July. And what I'm suggesting is I'm going to send you something to send to Marcy today, or not tonight, but tomorrow. And I think we should just have a deadline. We'd like to hear back from the board members by X date. And, if 80% of them come back, great. Let's go with that. Okay?
Nope, that works.
All right.
Great. Okay. So at this point, is it fair to adjourn this meeting of the Library Commission?
Virginia, I want to talk about some more.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Freddie.
I think we're losing Stephen Rose.
Yeah,
I always know that.
It's been a long day.
No, you know what? I do have something to share, though. I got my pencil out. I got a piece of paper. It took me about 20 minutes, but the answer is $6.43, Pierre.
How much?
$6.43 per
You know,
view.
that's
But we don't know how many people are actually watching at a given computer, right? So there could be multiple people, and I'm sure there are in some cases.
True.
Mostly ones, but some twos, I would assume too. So
the point is that somebody spent $6.43 to get you the best possible authors that we could find.
there you go.
I mean, people like the fact that they get something for their money.
Yes, and I reserve the right to say that I might be off by as much as 10%, but I'll leave it at that.
Well, you know what? It could be Canadian.
It's true. There you go.
So with that, I will officially adjourn our meeting of the Library Commission.
Good night, baby Olive.
Look,
Good night,
hold on.
baby Olive.
Oh, this is-
Oh, oh, so cute.